JD the ace on the fucking mic. Yeah, this just a freestyle, nigga. Yeah. Alright, guys, so this is how we're gonna make these fried chicken, cabbage, and baked macaroni and cheese. This is how we're gonna make it look like this perfect plate right here. So, before we get into this video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. But we're gonna start off with just cutting down this cabbage right now. It was a big head of cabbage, so it took me a good little minute to cut it down. But you want it all depends on how you like your cabbage. If you like them in big pieces, if you like them in the small little skinny strips, it's all up to you. I started cutting into like, kind of skinny strips, and then towards the end, I just was like, freak it, we're gonna do what we do. But it's all up to you, to your desired preference on what kind of, how you want your cabbage to be shaped. There's no right way and there's no wrong way, to be honest. And that's what I love about being in the kitchen. Because sometimes you can just come up with stuff, on the fly and everything. So, but you also want to still have that basic experience. But the way I'm cutting this with this knife, obviously, is not the right way. But this is what you want some of your cabbage to look like. I do know how to cut the right way, but you know what? I didn't have time for it. I was just trying to hurry up. And then I'm gonna go ahead and go on the other side. So I did cut the cabbage in halves so that I can chop it down, because it was a big head of cabbage. So you wanna section it off into sections and stuff like that and cut it down like that. I did cut a little bit of the stem in, but it is what it is. Now we got our pot for our water. For our mac and cheese noodles, you're gonna put a little bit of salt in there because that helps the water boil a little bit. But also, you could use some chicken broth to boil it in. But we're back to cutting the rest of this cabbage real quick. We got our water on for our macaroni noodles, and we're gonna just finish up cutting this cabbage. And then you want to also make sure, after you cut up this cabbage, you want to make sure you wash it. I did section off the cabbage into 2 or 3 bowls, just because I didn't have like a big enough bowl for all that cabbage. And you want to make sure you wash it, really good also. So make sure you follow those rules. Also, guys, the JD the Ace cookbook is coming very soon. Stay tuned for that. It'll probably be out in the summertime, but you know what? We're not fully sure. But I'll keep y'all updated and everything. But I started getting real tired with this damn cabbage. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Like, sometimes cooking in this kitchen, you gotta have some patience. So this is gonna be all the cabbage. I divided it up into 2 different bowls and everything, guys. So then this is the government cheese. My mom put me on this cheese. I don't know nothing about this cheese, so I'm using that. So our water is boiled already, so we're gonna go ahead and add our elbow noodles in. I use 2 boxes, but you can do up to how much you want. And then I'm just stirring it. It's boiling. You want to make sure you cook them al dente, because you don't want them to be cooked all the way through, because you're also still gonna bake them. And then in the oven, they'll cook the rest of the way. You don't want soggy noodles. So then I went ahead and I used this seasoning for my cabbage. I also did put some onion powder, some garlic powder, and some pepper, and a little bit of Tony seasoning in there. And then obviously the vegetable seasoning in there. We're gonna mix that up real good. We're gonna get a little bit of vinegar. And you wanna make sure you be careful with that vinegar. Only put a little bit in there, because if you put too much, it's gonna throw off the whole meal. I'm telling you that from a personal experience. It's gonna throw off the meal. So you want to make sure you keep stirring that in, stirring all the seasonings, because if you're eating cabbage with no seasoning and it don't taste like nothing, like, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? Okay? What are you doing with your life? So you're going to keep that, and we're going to let it cook for a little bit. Now we have our milk for our mac and cheese. Normally I use heavy whipping cream, but we only had milk at the time, so milk is what we use. I use this kind of milk because that's the only milk we had in the refrigerator. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut up some of that government cheese. And while the milk is on the stove boiling, we're going to cut up this cheese. We're going to use a little bit of this cheese. We're going to use a little bit of shredded sharp cheese. And then we're also going to use a little bit of Kobe Jack cheese. You want to make sure you use a couple different cheeses because that makes the perfect formula for some good baked mac and cheese. If you're not using multiple cheeses, then I tried to cut off the little wrapper thing off of there, but it took me a minute, so I had to do the rest of it off camera. But I did cut off that little bit, and I only cut off a little bit because I still had like a lot of other cheeses, so I was like, what, I'm gonna use a little bit of this, and I wasn't really sure about this cheese because I ain't never had this cheese and mac and cheese before, but my mom was telling me like it's good for mac and cheese, so I was like, what, let's try it out. Let's try it out. So here's me cutting up the rest of the other cheese. This is still me cutting the rest of it. I use damn near the rest of the block. I left that little piece left, and then I did cut it up into cubes, so that like smaller cubes, so that it melts a little bit quicker, because you don't want it to be burn in the pot with the milk and stuff like that. You want to let it melt evenly. So we're gonna continue to keep chopping this up in like little small cubes. But also, it really doesn't matter how you do the cheese. You do it however you want to do it. It's your kitchen. You're eating it. So, you do how you do. This is just a reference on how I did it. You don't have to do it like I did it, because everybody is different. Let's bring something unique to the table. That's why I'm bringing out the JD, the Ace cook-off experience, because that is going to show out great talent. So we're going to go here. The milk is boiling, and we're going to go ahead and get our whisk, and we're going to stir it just to make sure that nothing's burning and everything. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to add our cube cheese in. I actually think I did add the cube cheese in there already, but it's just, you can't really see it like that. Actually, yes, you can. It's on the whisk. You can see it. So you want to continue to keep stirring that, and you want to make sure that the cheese melts perfectly in with the milk. And you also want to go in with your seasonings, because the seasoning is going to be the key part of this, because you don't want no nasty mac and cheese. So we're going to add a little bit of that shredded cheese in there. And then we're going to add this shredded cheese in there also. I told y'all the key is to get multiple cheeses. Now, you want to make sure you're paying attention to this, because this can burn very quickly. So make sure you continue to keep whisking it and stirring it until it's combined perfectly. And, you want to make sure you're keep eyeing it, because it can burn very quickly. I'm letting y'all know that. It will burn quickly. So then here go me adding in my garlic powder and or my seasonings, because you want to make sure you season that, because if not, the mac and cheese is not going to taste right. So then you're going to add in your noodles, because we cooked the noodles already. They're al dente. You're going to make sure you add that in there. And I did have to add more noodles in there, because obviously I made a little bit too much of the cheese sauce. Mind you, you don't have to do it like how I did it. There's different ways to make the mac and cheese. Some people use flour. Some people use, other stuff, but that's not how I'm doing it. So I went and put it in the pan, mixed it all together, and I also did add some more seasoning into it before I threw it in the oven. Now, here comes the tricky part. Some people like to add an egg in their baked mac and cheese. It's not necessary, but for this recipe, I did put an egg in there, and then there go it's, coming out the oven nicely. I did put it back in the oven because I like it a little bit harder. This is me frying up my chicken. Yes, I did wash my chicken. We wash our meat over here. Okay, so this is going to be it coming out of the oven. I like a little crisp chopping on it, but, you don't have to. This is the first batch of chicken. And then here with the cabbage all done and everything. The cabbage was perfectly seasoned, guys. Y'all see that? Perfectly seasoned. So I cooked that cabbage for like maybe an hour and a half. Maybe it might have been less than that. I really wasn't paying attention to the time. But you want to make sure it looks like this. And then you're going to plate it up with your baked mac and cheese, your cabbage, and your chicken. If you're black, you would have some hot sauce. We didn't have no hot sauce. So I know that's a shame, but we had no hot sauce. But, guys, if you enjoyed this, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, your family, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.